response on the infraspinatus. Sometimes you don't even try to get a jump in infraspinatus. Obviously, trapezius easy get a twitch response. But I'm not sure if it's because it's deep to the trapezius. So I haven't been able to get it consistently until I start doing what I'm about to show you. So I hope you give that a try and you'll increase your chance of getting local twitch response from that muscle. Okay? And we talked about why local twitch response is better because it involves the central nervous system in this treatment. So the way I do it, okay, is I first palpate the spine of the scapula. And I insert the needle immediately above the spine so that I'm visualizing I'm kind of walking down the valley of the supraspinous fossa. So on the top of the valley right now. And I'm going to reinsert, re-angle, and walk down that valley to the base of the fossa. So if you have a skeleton, right? So this guy out here. What I'm going to skeleton this one here. This is the supraspinous fossa. I am walking down that valley. That's what I'm doing. Here, and a little bit deeper until the bottom. I'm not going straight down to the bottom. Okay, and before you do that, actually depress into the supraspinatus and try to figure out. Once you push hard enough, you will feel to appreciate that there's actually a circular cylindrical shape to that muscle. Okay, so I'm rolling on either side of that cylinder. Okay, and so that allows you to determine like how ropey or how tight it is. Okay, so I insert right underneath this bone. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, so it's going to be very shallow right now because I'm at the very top of the valley. And then I'm going to re-angle and then retract, okay, and then reinsert a little bit further down that valley until I touch the bone. So what I'm doing every time is that I'm touching the bone a little bit, and it actually is a form of kneading called osteopuncture. Or periosteum puncture, which the muscle, actually the periosteum is very rich in nerve supply, so it's sending a lot of signal to the brain. You okay?
Yeah.
Painful or achy?
It's fine. I feel it.
Yeah. So I'm re-angling, retracting, and reinserting systematically at least 4 or 5 times until I get down to the valley floor. And by being very careful and covering many fibers in that way, one of them will be the right one that gives me a jump into the supraspinatus. Okay. Now I'm going to show you does it do you have 50s? Are these 50s? Are these 50s? Yeah, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to show you now is insertion into large intestine 16. So large intestine 16 is palpate for the AC joint, the clavicle, and the common knees. And this is where you should already know where large intestine 16 is located. And this is a perpendicular insertion. This part of the shoulder blade is completely outside the rib cage. So if you go perpendicular insertion straight down until you hit resistance and bony capsule, see this is a 50, okay? This is how deep you should really insert that. This is it's safe. There's no chance of pneumothorax. And I actually will put 2 needles in this area.
Good idea.
Okay? And if you get the right angle, it's as is like butter, as they say. Okay? No resistance.
What?
Why am I doing that? Sensory articular nerve for proprioception.
Pour ceux qui connaissent pas l'anatomie, ouais.
And then where you need to insert around the tendon, supraspinatus tendon under the AC joint, is communication with your patient. Your patient will tell you, you have an idea you're going to follow the spinal scapula below the acromion, but you're going to start crossing around that area side to side. Your patient will tell you where is this tendon. And you're going to put 2 needles under the acromion. This is subacromial needling. Okay? So it's a subacromial space needling. I'm going to push my hand as I insert the needle, so it feels like I'm pushing her with my hand, not as much like I'm sticking in the needle.
He's aiming towards 16.
Ok. Je fais l'inverse. Je pique 16 vers le 15, puis 15 perpendiculaire.
Vers le bas.
Ah, c'est bien mieux, mais là tu peux toucher la capsule.
Ouais.
It's not, it's not my kind of needle, so I'm not used to it. I'm going to reach a little bit closer. There we go. That's the complete insertion you should be expecting if you're underneath the acromion like that. Okay? But basically you're bearing the needle. So we're going to add 2 of them. So you're palpating for the bone and inserting it right under the bone. You're basically inserting underneath the AC joint.
Cool.
All the way in under the AC joint. Okay, so this alone is the treatment for the supraspinatus portion. Not all rotator cuff problems will have the supraspinatus. Often does. Oftentimes the supraspinatus and subscapularis. Okay, but if the test and the resistance and the palpations are all fine, they don't complain about inability to reach up and do stuff overhead, then you don't need to do this. You just look on the subscapularis. Okay? So if I was if I were just connecting these muscles, because the patient only has a supraspinatus problem, it will look something like this. Yeah? Are you going to see? Okay, yeah, it's not wrong. Alright, so watch what I'm doing in terms of the clipping here, okay? I am, these 2 here are yellow, okay? So I'm going from a muscle to a nerve. It's an articular nerve. Okay? But this is also around the neighborhood where the tendon is. This is the myotendinous junction where the muscle becomes tendon. This is the tendon-periosteum junction where the tendon attaches to the bone. But they're all still part of the same muscle. Okay? And so I'm connecting muscle to an articular nerve, and then these 2 are red, same color, so the electricity is flooding underneath the AC joint. Okay? So this one is connected to this one, this is under AC joint, this is on the other side of the AC joint.
Very cool.
Electricity is flooding between, under the AC joint. That's the AC joint. Okay? And so this would just be the supraspinatus portion. Okay? Now let's just go see if the patient has an infraspinatus problem. Oops. What I would do. For infraspinatus, the infraspinatus muscle, okay, if you take a look at the pictures that I have in my book, in my notebooks, you'll see that the infraspinatus muscle has 3 different compartments. You can actually feel there are intramuscular septums. If you palpate with your flush fingers, you will be able to kind of fall into a divide. And there's 2 divides because there are three different leads. So I insert from those divides. And of course, I first palpate for tender spots before I do that. And see how watch my hands, see how my hands kind of fall into something? That's a divide. So once I find a divide, I make a little space for myself with my fingers, and I put the needle in the divide. Okay? And my goal is to also touch the periosteum. So I insert in the transfer direction, and then I lift and re-angle, and I'm trying to get a local twitch response. Do that 2-3 times. Okay, and then I can do that at a different divide. This time it's going to be lower. Another divide over here. So slide into the divide. It stops right there. So another insertion from the divide. Touch bone, re-angle, withdraw. Touch bone, re-angle, withdraw. There's a jump, a double jump actually. Okay. Double jumps are indicative that something is messed up. Healthy jump would be 1 peck, 1 jump. If it does 1 jump, multiple jumps, that's a problem. And you expect with treatment that was return back to 1 peck, 1 jump. Okay. It's like it's hyper-irritable. So it was already ready to depolarize, and it was excessive depolarization. Okay, now I mentioned I don't really test the teres minor, but I'll just palpate the teres minor. Okay, teres minor is very close to the infraspinatus. It's the lowest part of the scapula. So I will roll my fingers along there, and if it's tender, then I'll also put the needle in there and try to get a local twitch response. Okay, so these are just muscle belly. We need to have a sensory articular nerve as well.
Suprascapular nerve.
And fortunately, our medical ancestors already gave us a point for that. That is small intestine 10. That's the sensory articular nerve from the infrascapular branch.
Oh, right.
So you needle that. If it's an articular nerve, you basically needle down to the bone. That's what you do. So the connection is going to be in the same direction, but we are affecting the articular sensorial nerves for perception simultaneously. So a lot of times they don't have an infraspinatus problem. It's mostly supraspinatus and subscapular, so this won't be in the picture here. You could also, if you like, clip needles together. So when I needled this one down, I was only affecting the central leaf. There's 3 of them. If I wanted to affect the superior leaf, I need to be pecking in the superior direction. Right? And if I finish doing that, these needles are crossed over. I can just take advantage of that and clip that together. Okay, so then I have sort of upper and lower infraspinatus being clipped together in 1 clip, and then it's tendon or articular nerve at the other end. So these things are coupled together to kind of work on the motor, but also work on the sensory articular at the same time simultaneously. Okay. There's no distal point that's being shown here,